Hey everybody, welcome to Technically Unraveled. I'm Kristen Fehrenbach, your host today. Super excited that you guys are joining us. We got a lot of content to cover today, but we've got to start out with some updates. Make sure you always like, share, subscribe, because we don't want you to miss out on anything. All right, so let's kick us off. First and foremost, there is a new launch at Microsoft with Intro. There's some new SKUs that have launched. We've got a $6, a $9, a $12 price point. We are going to put the SKU down below. Please make sure you go learn a little bit about them. Reach out to your account teams if you have questions. We would love to have this conversation with you. We are so excited that this continues to evolve. Identity is going to be super important as we go forward. We're going to talk a lot about security today. So this is all super relevant. So please make sure you check that out and get with your account team. Now, we've got some boot camps coming up that I am pretty excited about. Dynamics is up first in July. So we've got the 16th and 17th. Make sure you get that on your calendar. We already have a ton of partners registered. So I'm really, really excited about the Dynamics one. We are really going to make sure that you understand, like, hey, you don't always have to build the practice yourself, but I know that Pax8's got resources. We've got P2P partners. We've got a ton of stuff for you. Also, make sure that you get the Microsoft Modern Workplace Bootcamp on your calendars too, especially with that first update. You aren't going to want to miss that one. All right. Lots of changes, always. It's Microsoft, right? If you didn't get a chance to check out our Microsoft monthly update from this last month, please make sure you go through. It is on demand on our YouTube page. So it's youtube.com/Pax8Cloud. But make sure that you go and you register for that series. That way, as we go forward, we can make sure, hey, you know what? Anything that's new, that's dropping, we try to make sure we cover there. And you can actually come and ask us questions live. If you've not been to one, you will very soon understand that I come on camera. Everybody knows that I have questions at hand, and we try to get those live with those presenters real time. We always follow up with you afterwards, even if we don't have all the information at that moment. Next up, Microsoft Ignite. All right, so typically, back in the day, there was Inspire. Then we had Ignite. We had all these different things, right? Microsoft has made one big mega event. So it is going to be happening in November. It's live in Chicago. Really, really excited about this. I know Pax8 will be there. But please make sure you go to their website. You can sign up now to make sure that you're getting the notifications when the registration opens. So make sure you sign up for those. It's going to be a lot of really cool stuff coming. Last but not least, as we go into the new Microsoft fiscal year, it's always important to really hone in on these trainings. Now, as we've talked about, Pax8's got a lot of training options, right? But Microsoft Direct has a ton of options as well. They're on demand. They've got different, you can go through and filter and say, okay, well, it's this industry, or I have this kind of role, or it's this workload, and find the right training for you. So that is always such a great option. That link will be down below for you as well. I don't want to waste much more time because we've got a special guest. Kat, thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Man, okay, I think this isn't your first time on the show, but we've got to have you introduce yourself and what do you do at Microsoft?
Yeah, so Kat Daniels, I'm based out of Austin, Texas. I'm a global partner technology strategist in security for Microsoft. What that means is I work with Microsoft's largest global partners, of which Pax8 is one. And I work with helping our partners on adopting Microsoft security technology, kind of figuring out how to make sense of all of it and how to adopt it in their businesses.
Awesome. We are so happy to have you join us. Matt Lee in the chat over here giving you some shout outs. So I know you've got fans in Pax8, Kat. We should not be surprised. Man, so you were at Beyond with us, and I mean, we just kind of want to dive right in because Sharon announced that Pax8 plus Microsoft, we are putting together a security center of excellence. We've got a short clip, so let's go ahead and roll to that.
Now, I have the honor of introducing our next speaker. She is a fiercely intelligent, passionately inclusive leader, and a longtime zealous champion of the partner ecosystem. Please join me in welcoming to the stage the incomparable Sharon Schoenberg.
It's a pleasure to be here with all of you today. And I'm really deeply excited today to make an announcement that Microsoft and Pax8 are bringing a joint security initiative together. This is a unique first for North America, where we're partnering together to bring a Microsoft Security Center of Excellence together for all of you into the market. So what does this mean? We will have a core set of solution architects and technical resources to help you build your security practice. Offer the training and readiness required, but then also really work on how does that then become a commercial offering that you can optimize in the market based on the Microsoft platform. We're deeply committed to this, and we're really excited about the opportunity that it will create to help support all of you and your success. It really is a unique moment in our history, not just for tech, but for all of us as humans. I don't know, when I see Scott's presentation, I'm really enamored. I think it's amazing. At the same time, it really is a remarkable time for humanity and also for the role that we play supporting our customers. As I mentioned, Microsoft is a partner-led business. We develop the platform, but you are the heroes who make it happen every single day for our customers. And on behalf of everyone at Microsoft, I just want to say a genuine thank you. I look forward to the impact that we'll have, not just this year, but in the coming years, in helping to support our customer success. Thank you all.
So it's great to hear directly from Sharon. But Kat, okay, we went through this quick little snip. What is a Security Center of Excellence? What does Center of Excellence actually mean?
Yeah, because that was a lot of words, right?
Right.
So Center of Excellence, Center of Excellence is just like cloud. Cloud means a lot of different things to a lot of different people depending on the context. It could be everything from you just get a bunch of people in your company who are all interested in the same thing together, and you want to talk and drive best practices around that thing. A center of excellence could be a place in a company where you specifically focus on research and development and innovation. It could be a place where you create what the gold standard is for your company. So maybe you want to have a simplified, straightforward way of doing things with your clients and internally, and that's what the Center of Excellence comes together and decides, like, what is our business's way of going to market. Really, I mean, it can be anything to anyone. It just matters really what your business needs. And from a Security Center of Excellence perspective, it's all about making sure all boats rise. It's all about having better security posture. It's all about making sure that customers and resellers are more secure.
100%. And so when we talk about the security specific Center of Excellence, right? What does that mean, and what makes that a little bit different with Pax8 in particular?
Yeah, and this is the part that I'm so excited about, because one of the things that's great about working with Pax8 is, as a company, they always champion on behalf of the resellers they support, right? They folks who focus on small business customers, sometimes the most vulnerable customers in terms of security, the ones that are most targeted by threat actors, but have the fewest number of resources to be able to defend against that. And one of the things that's great about Pax8 is Pax8 always advocates on behalf of. And I've told many people this, is when you have a company like Microsoft or any other large company, we don't know what we don't know. So a lot of times we've had partners like Pax8 come to us and say, hey, this is really great, but this is really not a great solution for an SMB customer. And here's the reason why. It could be price point, it could be the features, it could be, hey, SMB customers have a very specific challenge that no one has solved for. How can we go and fix that? And one of the things I'm excited about with this COE is that Pax8 is going to be able to provide that feedback loop directly to Microsoft, to be able to go to Microsoft proactively and say, hey, we need something better, help us build it. I think that's going to be really, really interesting and a differentiator for Pax8. The other thing that I think is going to be really a differentiator and interesting is, if I'm a small business owner, I have 5 employees, I'm supporting, let's say, 100 customers, I am solely focused on keeping those clients happy, right? I'm focused on keeping their businesses up and running because that's what keeps the local economy going. And I don't really have time to do research and development. I have maybe an hour a week if I'm lucky. But I'm also doing marketing. I'm also head of HR. I'm taking care of my own employees. This takes that burden away from the reseller. So Pax8 goes out and does all this amazing research on your behalf and comes to you with an opinion. And it's a well researched opinion of like, hey, we think this is what good looks like from a security perspective. We have checked everything out. And this is what we think you guys should really focus and hone in on. And I think like that time and that value back to the organization is going to be huge for a lot of resellers.
Now, I'm so excited about it because there's so many different options in security, right? And I love that you really talked about the research and development piece because we've created this B team. And that's not just Pax8. You've got people like Kat. You've got some really, really amazing people that are on this that are all going to come together and say, how do we continue to raise the tide? And that's going to be so important. But innovation is key, Kat. And so, how does that innovation continue to help that tide raise?
Yeah, because that's a really interesting thing about security is that it's never static. It's always this cat and mouse game, right, between the threat actors and the people who are defending against them. So, the defenders come up with something really, really cool that blocks the threat actors. They find a way around it, right? I mean, you take something very simple like multi-factor authentication. Okay, so we had multi-factor authentication. I get code sent to my phone, and I use that to log into an app or log into a website. Well, then someone figures out how to clone the SIM on your phone, intercept that test message, and pretend to be you. So now we have to have phishing resistant MFA. So it's this continual development because, both the great and terrible thing about human beings is that we are infinitely creative, especially when you're in a situation where the incentives encourage you to be creative. And if you think a lot about these threat actors, like they're coming from a situation where if I ransomware a business for $3,000, that could be a life-changing amount of money for me and my family. So like, of course, I have every incentive to go and try and do that, whether it's right or wrong or, the moral implications of it. It's just, as long as that system of incentives exists, you're always going to have people who are innovating and improving in a really terrible way. And so you as defenders have to innovate in a really positive and creative way to stop whatever threat it is today, right? It'll be a totally different threat tomorrow. And that's the part that's interesting about security, is that it's not static. It's not going to be the same. And the challenges that you faced as a business 5 years ago are not the challenges that you're going to face 5 years from now.
Absolutely. And I mean, look, we're going to have to talk about the elephant in the room because AI, Copilot, things like that, they're changing the way we work. I think they're also changing the way that other people we might not hope are using them. I think they're obviously using them as well, Kat. So, I mean, is that helping maybe threat actors also? What does that mean for us?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, okay, so technology itself is never good nor evil, right? It's always the people who are using that technology. So, you'll have folks that'll say, well, I'm really mad about generative AI because now I can't spot the obvious phishing emails. Like they're getting pretty good. Like the grammar's, college level now. It looks like professional copy. I can't tell the difference. So yeah, that's a bad use of that technology. But then you think about the good use of that technology. I work on an international team. I have teammates and colleagues for whom English is a second language, and the ability for them to take their thoughts and translate that into collegiate level English is a huge boon to them, right? Like that levels the playing field in so many exciting and interesting ways. So like, yeah, bad thing, threat actors look a little more convincing, but also you have more people who can now participate in the workforce and participate on equal ground. So, it's just really that goes back to that cat and mouse game of like, how can I spot these things and how can I defend against them? And I would also make the argument too. People are like, okay, generative AI, I can't spot the bad phishing emails. Therefore, this is terrible. But like, in the average incident, there are multiple inflection points where you have an opportunity to see that someone is trying to get into your environment before like they exfil with all of your data. And so the cool thing about technology is that as it gives us the ability to work faster and more efficiently, we're going to have better opportunities to catch people at those inflection points and actually do something about them. And you even see AI in Microsoft technologies, like the ability to auto remediate issues. So I see an issue, it's an issue I've seen before, great. Like, please go take care of that for me, whether that's, prompt someone for MFA, whether that's lock a user's account because they're doing something that looks super suspicious. Um, you know, yes, it's going to make things more challenging, but it's going to give us a lot of tools that we didn't have in our tool belt before, which is also super interesting.
100%. I mean, that's probably why organizations want you to tell them when you go out of the country with your work device and they won't turn it off. Like some has happened before, no names here. But so
security is all about real life examples, Kristen.
I know. I'm like, oh, lesson learned. Cool. You care that I'm going to be in Mexico, that I'm not in my normal place at this normal desk. Got it. That actually makes a ton of sense. So we're all raising the tide as we go. But Microsoft and Pax8, we got to the point we decided, hey, you know what? We've got to build this little pocket of experts, right?
Yep.
We've got some partners could be pretty sizable, right? When do they might know that it might be time for them to even look at investing or building a security center of excellence or just a center of excellence in general themselves?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question, and I don't think there's a hard and fast answer for it. But, one of the beautiful things if you're working for a small business is that you're interacting with the same colleagues day in and day out, right? So they know exactly what you're doing, the thoughts you have, the projects you're working on. When you get to the point where, let's say you can maintain close relationships with like 10 people max. Like when you get to the point where you're on the phone with someone talking about whatever your subject matter expert is, let's say you're a subject matter expert in security, you're on the phone with someone and you're like, hey, I just had this really great conversation with so and so about this particular initiative we're doing as a business. And someone says, oh, I had that exact same conversation with someone else like 2 days ago. That's probably at some point you're having a communication breakdown, right? People are having separate conversations. And that's the point where you might want to take some inventory of your company and say, okay, well, security or whatever it is, the thing that you're super passionate about, like who in the company is a stakeholder in that conversation? Who needs to be aware? Who has a voice? Who has an opinion? Even if it's a disparate opinion, like HR, legal, things like that. And let's all get together. And even if we just have one meeting a month where we define kind of what the mission is for us, like whether that's best practice sharing, whether that's that we just all get on the phone and talk about the respective projects that we're working on, like you are creating the foundation of a center of excellence.
And nobody wants to duplicate work, right? I think we all have enough work. Let's not duplicate it. So I think that totally makes sense. But looking at a security center of excellence or just a center of excellence in general, do you really see this as a value add or something that people typically charge for? Like, which way do you really look at this?
Yeah, I mean, you can do it both ways, but where I think you start having problems, and I've seen this for multiple organizations, is when you treat that center of excellence like a profit center. Like, I'm going to take my best and most skilled people, I'm going to put them into this organizational box, and then we're going to charge people for their expertise. Well, what ends up happening is people are like, well, I don't want to pay for that. Like, I'll just go develop my own expertise. And the real risk of doing that in security is that you do everything in a slightly different way. And think about that from a practical standpoint. So you're doing deployments for customers. Everyone in your organization does things slightly differently. You don't know which of those deployments is possibly introducing some kind of risk until that customer has a problem somewhere down the road, right? And if you can standardize that deployment and have everyone come together and agree, we think this is the best way to go forward, then you also have a defensible position, right? In the instance of like cybersecurity insurance, or there's an audit, or something where lawyers get involved. you were able to say, this is the way that we do this as a business, and we do it for this reason because it provides these benefits, and this is like our standard practice. And if you're really good, you get your customer to sign off on that too, and try and minimize your risk as much as possible.
100%. I feel like I really went down the rabbit hole here, Kat. So I'm gonna bring myself back out here. Okay. So instead of zooming in so close, some partners are just getting started. And I'm a big believer in, like, it doesn't matter where you start, just start somewhere. But if they're just starting their security journey, from your lens, is there any resources or anything in particular that you would maybe recommend to them as they start out?
Yeah, so the cool thing about security, and one of the reasons that I'm so drawn to it, is like it's an industry on its own. This is not something that Microsoft created, right? So it's a vocabulary and industry that exists outside of me, outside of Microsoft, and outside of so many other people. So there are a wealth of trainings out there, but ISC Squared has a really great one. They're offering a free cybersecurity exam until they run out of vouchers. I went through it about a year and a half, 2 years ago, and it's really solid, right? Like, and I've done the Security Plus, I've done all of the Microsoft certifications. Like, this is a pretty solid grounding in just basic cybersecurity principles. And I think the cool thing about it is like, once you understand the language, the philosophy, and the principles, then you can add new things to it as like developments happen, right? You mentioned like some of the developments in the Entra suite today, right? Like, if you didn't know about zero trust network access, or you didn't know anything about conditional access yesterday, that doesn't matter, because if you're grounded in some of those basic cybersecurity principles, you're like, oh, okay, this new piece of information I just learned fits into this bucket, and I can now evaluate this bucket because at least I have a basic idea of what people are telling me. I would just start there. It's free, like the training's self-guided. Really, there's no harm in just picking up a couple of things that might help you in some of those customer conversations.
I love it. I love it. And I think it's just, you can really start anywhere, right? And so
Yep.
I think it's super important that you just get that foundational layer, right? And, we talk a lot about Matt Lee, and I know they have their show. It was on Fridays. It moved on over. And you're the one who actually brought this up to me. So I know that you actually have this book, Kat. Tell me about it. Oh, yep, there it is.
Yeah, so I was at PAX 8 Beyond. I was actually demoing some of the components of like secure internet access with Matt Lee. And so he was running this panel, and they were talking about this MSP Owners Handbook, like SASE edition, kind of how you need to, as an MSP, move your practice from how you did things 5 years ago to be really successful to a new, more agile sort of business model. And it's a really good book. I'd recommend it. All the proceeds from the sales go to fund cybersecurity skilling vouchers. So, like, this is your charitable good deed that you're doing today. But just like really, really awesome information in the book about just what you said. Like, where do I get started? Like, I already have a business. It's successful. I recognize I'm going to need to change. What do I need to go do, and how do I do it? And I think there's some really good practical steps in the book.
Awesome. I love it. I can't let you leave before we talk a little bit about frameworks, because we talk about it pretty often, but I mean, why is it recommended to pick either CIS or the NIST framework? Like, what is the value behind it that, you security people in general always say pick a framework? Why?
Yeah. Okay. So, and this is great because it ties back into the conversation about center of excellence. Picking a framework is like using someone else's center of excellence. You get a ton of super smart people in a room. You get a whole room of Matt Lees, like, and they all, sort of like debate what's an appropriate control? What does this control do? Why is it important? Why do I need it? And they come out with some like pretty practical guidance to like, this is how you could have better security posture within your organization. So you don't have to go and do all of that research. You're not dependent on like hiring this person who has 20 plus years of experience in security that you really can't afford, right? Like you can take all of that intellectual mind share from other people and just put it to work within your organization. And the other thing that's really cool is these things are continually updated. So maybe you are not as up to speed on data governance and data security as you probably should have. I know it's like always on everyone's 5-year plan, and then it gets kicked to the next 5-year plan because it was never a business priority before generative AI made it a business priority, right? Now everyone's like, oh my gosh, I data security, I need to know all about this. Well, yeah, but also there's frameworks that have been created by people who have been watching this for years, who have seen the technology develop, who have an idea of what good looks like. And so you can go to your customers already having an opinion and a starting place and kind of build off of that, right? And you don't have to do everything that's in those frameworks. Like I think CIS is like 180 plus control, like it's insane, right? But you can pick what you think are the top 10, or you can have Pax8 help you pick what you think are the top 10 most important things for you to go after. Like I'm pretty sure there's some solid stuff in the academy about it. And then like just start there with your customers, because even if you make them 2% more secure, 5% more secure, like that is material gains, and you can build on that every year, and you'll be able to show that value back to your clients to be like, yeah, we're implementing this control and this control, and here's the reasons why we're doing that, because it's going to make you more secure in these ways. And like that's a really awesome conversation to have with someone during a QBR.
I love it. Matt Lee's in this chat. I feel like we're just going to dial him in a second if he keeps going, and I love it. There's 153 controls. CIS 8.1 just came out to correct and clarify things in 8.0. Frameworks make defensibility. He's got a lot of really good nuggets in there. So he is over there. I feel like he's over there like cheering at his laptop, because I also know that for partners, having the ability to let them sell to the framework can also provide value to those partners, because then you're not really selling, you're showing them, hey, you know what, this has been proven and these are, you know, great measures. So I think that's also helpful. But I also think that, you know, we hit on something a little earlier about AI and Copilot, and I got to know before you go, because we don't always get a ton of time, Kat, and I'm just going to continue to try to rein you back in over and over. I got to know your favorite Copilot tip.
Oh, okay. Well, this is a borrow tip. So, like, shout out to Chantal Barnes at Microsoft. She did this in a team meeting recently. It was a huge hit. It was a lot of fun. But what you ask Copilot to do is you say, okay, look at the emails and team meetings I've sent in the last 2 weeks. Use those messages to create like a personal brand profile based on like my voice and my style. And then you ask Copilot, okay, now that you've created this brand profile of me, like what superhero represents me best? Am I the Hulk? Am I,
I hope
am
not the
I
Hulk.
am I Storm? Like who am I, right? Like am I Marvel? Am I DC? Like give me a superhero. And then you ask it like, okay, based on that, what would my superhero powers be? And then you ask it to format a dossier, like an official looking dossier that lists your real name, the existing superhero you're most like, and like kind of gives you that bullet point by bullet point of what your superpowers are. And then you ask it what your superhero costume would be. And you have it design like a graphic with,
Yes.
and you can customize it. You can be like, Incredibles, like no capes, right? Like take away the cape. You can be like add a helmet, make it this color. Like you can have a lot of really like fun with it. But it's sort of a take on doing those personality tests where everyone tries to like what do I not know about this person in the way that they interact with others? So yeah, try that one. It's super, super fun. Just a really nice icebreaker for your team meetings.
It just sounds like, honestly, like a little bit like a quick team building. Like I feel like you could even get together and like quickly do it. And I mean, get people used to asking multiple questions in Copilot, all in one thread, building off of it. I think that while it's like, it's really fun, like, I think that, it really shows like the foundation of, you ask multiple questions, you clarify what you need from it, and then you can continue to build. So that is awesome. Were there any that you like when people do them for you, like, and they tell you who they are you like, oh yeah, that makes sense? Or are you like, wait a minute, really?
Well, you shared that yours came back and said you were Iron Man, and I was like, God, what do I not know about Kristen?
Yes, and lots of secrets, there's actually like a basement in Houston, clearly that makes sense. There's a basement down there with all of my spare parts that, after this is what I'm going to do, is go fight crime. So, Kat,
yeah, I was like, is Winston a cyber dog? Like, what do I need to know here?
100%. I love it. Kat, I love having you on the show. You bring such a great view to what can be a little overwhelming and a little confusing. So thank you so much. We will continue to get you back on this show because we super, super appreciate all your insights, but I want to say thank you.
No, thank you so much. Like, I love working with the Pax8 team, and this is just the work that you do on behalf of partners is absolutely fantastic, and I am here to support all of it.
Thank you so much. All right, everybody. Another show, Technically Unraveled, down. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, because we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.